hemp in and of itself isn't an industry. It's a plant that then can be used in various ways.
Thank you very much for joining us here on What Canna Radio, where we take pride in bringing a dose of reality to your conversations about hemp. We are very happy to say that today's episode is brought to you by CBD Peer. Please stick around to the end of the show to learn how you can get a 15% discount on their world-class American-made CBD products. My name is Aiden Washington. I'm happy to be your host today, and now enjoy the show. I always had an assumption that it would probably be weaker than hemp or wood-based board, but that's really fascinating. And also on the porous nature of the bits and pieces, it's fascinating how that just adds to the be able to have it absorb the material that you're trying to soak it in or whatever, so that it can hold that and retain it for longer. Now on the note of the 4 times per acre of trees for every acre of hemp. Is that, there's probably lots of nuances. And I remember just reading papers from 20 years ago, and it's we can produce 11, 12 tons of fiber per acre. And it's I got maybe 2 tons, 2.5 tons max on the fields I grew. But on that, is it each year it can provide 4 times as much fiber per acre than an acre of trees if you were to harvest that tree that year, or is it over that 30-year span that if you add up all the...
Yeah, it's over that 30-year period. If you're growing the hemp and doing it every year, you're certainly going to get a lot more hemp. And as I mentioned, somebody might say, well, over 30 years we went out and cut down a forest, that was the same thing, we got more wood, but then they don't tell you that forest was growing for 400 or 500 years. So, those are the different nuances there. The fastest growing tree would be a pine tree. There are certain types of pine tree. And those create what's considered the softwoods. Generally, the slower growing the tree, the harder the wood that you get out of it. So softwoods from pine, and once again, the bare minimum, you have to grow that for 30 years before it's going to be worthwhile to be able to harvest it. The way that plays out in the real world is they may go harvest a certain area of regular trees that have been growing for many years. They might plant new trees, and then 30 years later, I'm going to go back and try to see if they can harvest it again. And usually it's just, they never quite get as much as they did the first time. They went out and did it. And with hemp, we're going to get, once again, with the new, genetics, breeding, harvesting, farming techniques, we're going to be getting more and more fiber per acre as the years go on. And, as people get better at growing it, they begin to use the right strains of hemp, that are specific for that particular area.
Absolutely, yeah. No, it's definitely, that's wildly exciting. I mean, just in all the different areas or sectors within industry. I was speaking with Bruce Dietzen and talking about his hemp car and how he basically has taken all the knowledge that he's learned from making the composites for the hemp car, and now is focused on making composites for hemp fiber composites for other industry to just drop in, right? And how once he gets to the scale, he can pretty much either meet the cost of current materials or potentially exceed it, and then also just the carbon intensity that's released for manufacturing carbon fiber. He was saying it's every pound of carbon fiber manufactured is 31 pounds of CO2 released into the atmosphere, or glass fiber, it's 8 pounds of CO2 for every pound manufactured, whereas the hemp fiber, it's a negative 1.65 pounds of CO2 pulled out of the atmosphere for every pound that's manufactured. And so it's just kind of exciting to see how not only in cost, but then also potentially performance and then even environmental factors, hemp is already exceeding other products out there. And so kind of on this topic of these are growing industries, what realm of hemp fiber products are you seeing growing the most, or sector of hemp fiber products are you seeing growing the most right now and maybe kind of into the future?
All right. It's a little tough. Well, certainly, probably the most well-known one would be the textiles, as in that regard, we're using, especially for 100% hemp, it's a 100% hemp product. you also blend the hemp fibers with cotton when you're getting about a 50% blend of hemp and cotton or hemp and poly or hemp and tencel, things like that. The largest area that we're probably going to see is where hemp fiber will start being substituted for something else. And to give an example, a company called me up and they make ceiling tiles, for buildings, just the ceiling tiles. And they were currently using, the fiber they were using was either waste paper or like waste insulation or fiberglass fibers for it. And they wanted to get away from that. So, their ultimate product is just a ceiling panel. It has nothing to do with hemp. You wouldn't even really call it a hemp product. But he says, we can get, for example, we can pay $60 a ton for this fiber, and it can be, poor quality, doesn't matter. They were just more concerned about the actual size of the fiber. He says, if we can get that, then we're going to be able to take, and it was something like, we're going to need like 400 tons of fiber a month for that. And, so that's going to probably be what I would say these substitute products, where the fiber will substitute for something else, whether it's a petroleum fiber, nylon or rayon, or glass fiber or carbon fiber. If we can get the hemp in there, the volume can just explode, where people are going to need a lot because it's already being used. And these people may not even care, that it's hemp. You can just be like, well, we can be less money than what you're already using, or will be a lighter weight than what you're using, or we can offer it's biodegradable. And there might be a law that says a certain percentage of your product needs to be biodegradable. These people are going to start switching over. That will probably be the largest. Now, second would be where we have a product made entirely from hemp. So, for example, hempcrete or the hemp board that I'm making, that I actually associate with hemp. In fact, we have hemp in the name where we're using most of it or all of it. Hemp insulation is one. At the moment, those products that we make, while they're great, are generally more money than a competing product, a competing board. But once we start growing it on a larger scale, those prices begin to drop. The second you match or go below an existing product, 90% of the market's just going to switch over. They'd rather pay less money for it. Interesting thing about hempcrete is it's less of a product and more of a service in that, the average person can't just buy hempcrete and start working with it. It's actually, you need somebody who knows how to work with it, whether it's an architect and or a builder. They have to know how to work with it, use it, and put it in their things. So it's more of a service rather than a product, where the hemp board is a product, the hemp fabric is a product, where we're just selling it to other people and they use it in place of what they're currently using.
Gotcha. Interesting. That's a really interesting point of the largest market is going to be the things where people don't even know that they're buying hemp at all. And I think that's that's also kind of where I stand, is that like the vast majority of people, maybe they know they're wearing a cotton shirt, or maybe they know that their jeans are made of cotton, but beyond that, they really don't know what they're buying, what material they're using, or anything on those lines. And that's really where hemp is going to drive the most, because the hemp market is great. But there's definitely a lot of perceptions around it that are still kind of wishy-washy. I mean, those will change over time, but they're still there. And then also, there are only so many people that are going to be the enthusiasts that are going to be buying the hemp product. But right now, as you said, like for a product that's maybe a little bit more expensive right now until you get it up to scale, using that statement of this is a hemp product or this is a cannabis product can help kind of drive it into a specific sector. But as you said, once it gets to be economically viable and makes good business sense, everybody's going to switch over to it, right? Because, I mean, it tells a great story, great for marketing, and then also because they can say, we're supporting United States farmers in producing this or wherever they're manufacturing the product. And then also it's great for environmental story and then economic viability. And as you said, I mean, with the wood replacements, it can potentially be stronger than the current product, which is just phenomenal. Yeah, so that's just really cool. While more clinical research is needed before we can make any medical claims, CBD has shown to greatly reduce inflammation, which can assist with ailments such as arthritis, chronic pain, and even anxiety. However, with so many CBD brands out there, it can be hard to distinguish which brands can offer top quality products while remaining affordable. Well, thanks to today's sponsor, CBD Pure, we can bring you just that. With decades of experience in the supplement industry, CBD Pure's team is offering What Canna Radio listeners a 15% discount to their American-made, high-quality, and yet affordable products. In fact, they are so confident you will love their products that they are offering a 90-day money-back guarantee. Just use the discount code WCD at checkout or click on the link in the description to get your 15% discount. We hope you enjoy their products just as much as we do. And now back to the show. So kind of start wrapping this up. I know you only have an hour here. We'll have to figure out another time to get you on for a little bit longer. But for people that are getting into the hemp space, I mean, maybe you want to target people that are already kind of familiar with it, because there's definitely still people that come to me and are like, I want to grow hemp, and don't really have any idea what the cannabinoids are or what grain is or what fiber is. They just see hemp and they want to make money, right? But maybe for people that are a little bit more familiar and kind of have a feeling where they want to go and maybe targeting specifically fiber, what advice would you give to somebody that's trying to get into the fiber industry, and like kind of where should they put their focus on and go from there?
Right. Well, yeah, as hemp in and of itself isn't an industry. It's a plant that then can be used in various ways in various different industries. So normally I would say you want to focus on what you know. If you're a farmer, then certainly it makes sense for you to grow the hemp. If you're if your thing is accounting, well, then you can work for a hemp company as an accountant, that will work. If you're an inventor, you could try to invent with hemp. It tends to make sense to get into things you know and the things that you enjoy doing. Don't just say, I'm going to get into hemp and have no idea what you're going to do. Also, you've got to know what you're getting into. You want to see how the hemp can fit into it. Will it be one of the three I mentioned? Can hemp be a substitute for what you're currently using in your process? Where is it going to be substituted? What needs to happen? Does it make, are the properties right for what you want to use it for? And does it make economic sense in order to use it? Are you going to be able to market it as such? People will buy it just simply because it's hemp. You have to have a lot of other reasons. The fact that it's hemp or environmental usually has to be the second or third reason. That people are going to get into it. And also do something you enjoy. If you've never been a farmer, don't like being outdoors and having to farm, don't get into that. Simply be, and also if you're a pothead or a stoner, that doesn't make you an expert with it. You have to actually be able to do something with it. You're laughing because I'm sure you've met people like that, who claim that they're an expert in it. Other things that I would recommend, which is generally just regular business sense, is that when you are dealing with people, a lot of people will claim that they're an expert, and you have to go by experience. Find out who they've worked with in the past. Are they reliable? Are they going to be there, a year from now, when you get going? Do they have a guarantee of what they're doing? Good example, a lot of people this past year, couple of years, people were selling high CBD seeds, and people were willing to pay $1 a seed for it, a huge amount of money, and then they'd buy them and then they plant them and they'd have more than 0.3% THC within it, and then they go back and go, wait a minute, just spent thousands of dollars to buy your seeds and do this acre, the whole plot is ruined, my year is ruined, and that company is nowhere to be found. So you got to make sure you're working with the right sorts of people. The people that are going to work with the fiber, usually you want to be in an industry they're already working in. For example, if they're making it some sort of composite or a board or a panel or something, plastics, it's good to work with somebody in that industry who then can add a little bit to it of the hemp and do it that way rather than trying to get into something that they've never done before. You want to be able to do that. And that's just some, general good advice for anyone getting into the hemp industry.
Absolutely, that's great advice. Definitely be cautious of the so-called experts that you talk to, because they seem to be declining more and more, but there's still a lot of them out there, particularly in the cannabinoid world. Fiber, there's not really enough of us or there's not enough of something to chew on for somebody to try to be nefarious necessarily in the business, or less likely to be nefarious in the business. That's phenomenal advice. Definitely take your expertise and apply it to the hemp industry versus trying to apply the hemp industry to something else, right? Because as you said, hemp is not going to be, it's not its own industry. It's a source material to put into other industries, because there's potentially thousands of products we can make out of it, right? I mean, the 25,000 mark, it's kind of ridiculous at sometimes, because I feel like we can make plastic out of hemp and we can make 1,000 different products out of plastic, but there's those things that are underlying, and then also work with people that aren't in the hemp space, that come with other knowledge base and can work with you, because that's just, it makes good business sense to bring in expertise from other realms that they have knowledge in manufacturing plastics, but they don't necessarily have knowledge specifically in hemp, but they can take all of that, and because they've worked with a lot more than just the hemp fiber, right? So thank you very much for joining us, Lawrence. For those that want to maybe reach out to you, if you want to give that information out, how can they find you, or what should they look at CannaGrove and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, well, my main website would be for Hemp Traders, so it would be hemp-traders.com. Specifically, if you're looking for the board, it would be CannaGrove.com. And I'm pretty open. I'm the one that checks all the email and have a lot of information. I'm willing to share it. So contact at hemp-traders.com would be the website for me to use.
Great, cool. Well, thank you very much for joining us, Lawrence, and have yourself a wonderful day.
All right, thank you, and very nice to talk to you. Have
Nice
a good day too. All right, bye-bye.
Thank you very much for joining us here on What Canna Radio, where we bring a dose of reality to your conversations about hemp every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern. If you enjoyed what you heard, please smash that like button below for our YouTube overlords. And if you haven't already, subscribe to our channel so you can be the first to know the secrets we reveal. If you need another dose of reality right this moment, check out the video up here, or if you want to see what YouTube has to offer you, check out the videos over here or down below. Thank you very much for joining us, and have a mind-expanding day.